All right, so now we're getting into the NFL playoff predictions. Probably the highlight of the show, honestly. I'm pretty excited to talk about the NFL. So we're going to go in order of when the games are going to be played this weekend. So there's 3 on Saturday and 3 on Sunday. And this is actually the first year of the new playoff system. So there's 7 seeds for each conference now, 14 teams total. The Packers and the Chiefs got the number 1 seed for their respective conferences. And then there's there's 12 teams playing this weekend. So the first game is on Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. All the times I'll be listening in Pacific time. It's the Colts versus the Buffalo Bills in the AFC. The Bills have the number 2 seed. The Colts clinched their playoff spot last week, and Buffalo is currently a 6.5-point favorite. And Buffalo is on some wild playoff droughts currently. So I've written here that they have not won a playoff game or been favored in one since 1995, and they haven't hosted one since 1996. And then this is also the first game this season that they're letting in fans to the stadium. So that fan base, will be pretty hyped up.
It was good timing to get the fans in for the playoffs. I'm not sure why they weren't able to do it a little bit earlier. Probably some bigger stuff than they can control. Coming into the game, man, Josh Allen is on fire right now. I mean, the whole entire team is on fire. They have 2 losses this season, or they have 3 losses this season.
Yeah.
They played the 49ers a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
49ers, even with all the injuries, everything that went wrong, were still a top-flight defense in the NFL this year as far as yards go. We had no answers.
Yeah.
We had no answers for that team. Get Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs. You can line either of them up in the slot. And the routes and the timing they have is otherworldly. Like, just the routes they're able to get, the way they're just able to pick apart a zone right away, the way he's able to see things, see the defense, tell them exactly where they need to go, and for them to actually connect. They had this figured out by week 8. So now we're about to get into the playoffs. They're going to have fans back. The defense started off a little bit slow this season.
Yeah.
Boy, have they been ramping it up.
Yeah.
I see the Bills. I don't want to disrespect the Colts in any way, but I kind of see the Bills dominating the game.
Yeah, that could very well end up being the case. I mean, they've made a lot of teams look silly this season, and we knew the Bills were going to be good. It's kind of crazy that they were favored to win their division coming into this year. I know some people didn't believe in them, but I mean, they won it pretty convincingly, and they would have won 10 games in a row now if it weren't for Kyler Murray's Hail Mary, however many weeks back that was. So they would have had 10 wins in a row if it weren't for that. Josh Allen has made one of the biggest step forwards like I've ever seen for a quarterback. Everything about their pass game is basically, it's working perfectly. And I definitely didn't see it coming. I didn't see him being the number 2 seed, but it's not like it's some fluke. I think they're going to win this game pretty convincingly.
One thing to touch on with the Colts is, so we definitely don't want to say the Colts have absolutely no chance to win. It's just all the signs at this point are pointing at the Bills being able to dominate this game. The one thing the Bills are lacking, that the Colts are not lacking in, is a run game. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss have both been good this season. They've both been solid. Wouldn't call them spectacular, nor have they been consistent, which is always a problem. You don't know what you're going to get week to week with these guys. Both really talented. And then you go over to the Colts. Jonathan Taylor's coming off a 250-yard rushing game.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor is a beast.
Yeah, especially this later portion of the season. I mean, he's kind of caught fire. We're going to get into some more running backs that have caught fire. We got Derrick Henry coming up in a little bit, but Jonathan Taylor kind of slipped under the radar. But, I mean, he's been really impressive the last few games, especially for a rookie. So,
and behind that offensive line, that's one of the best in the league. If they can get that run game going, Phillip Rivers,
I mean, they got a shot.
A good game.
They got a shot, yeah.
They really have a shot. They're a good, solid team, but I would say both of us feel that the Bills are going to win this game.
Yeah.
I would say by double.
I would say the point spread is pretty fair of 6.5 in favor of the Bills. I think that's pretty accurate. Okay, so the second game this weekend is the Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. The big question in this one, of course, is Jared Goff, is whether or not he's going to play. So we're recording this on Tuesday night. So we don't really know the situation. Last week the Rams, John Walford came in. He came in place of Jared Goff, basically. He started that game. He played pretty solid. He produced around like 300 total yards about. I think he had 56 on the ground, and he was like 22 of 38 passing. So it's not the end of the world if they have to if they can't start Jared Goff. But it is kind of a problem that Seattle's defense has been really good as of late. It's really improved as the season's gone on. Seattle's a 4-point favorite, and I don't know. I think the Seahawks actually win this one pretty convincingly, especially if Walford ends up starting.
I truly believe that Jared Goff is going to play.
Yeah, I would assume so.
It's a playoff game. I mean, I understand it's a thumb injury, and that's obviously not ideal for a quarterback with grip strength on the ball. I just don't see any way Jared Goff is not the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
The big issue is going to be Chris Carson. If that physicality with Chris Carson can get going, I really don't know how the Seahawks could possibly lose this game. You know what you're getting from Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Even if Russell Wilson
fantastic season,
has taken a little bit of a dip in production, has thrown some interceptions here in the latter half of the season. You know what you're getting from Russell Wilson in a playoff game.
Yeah.
It's just greatness.
Yeah, he kind of fell to the MVP race, but I mean, I still think he ended up with like 40 touchdowns, 4,200 or so yards. The Rams are getting back Cooper Kupp and Andrew Whitworth, it looks like. Kupp, I think, was out last week with COVID, and then Whitworth's been out for a while. And the Rams' defense has been like really good this season. But at this point, Seattle's defense is playing just about as good as the Rams is. I mean, in the second half of the season, I don't know the exact week where they started really ramping up, but I think the Rams are going to have a tough time getting going on offense, which has surprisingly been the weaker of the two, offense and defense, this season. So,
yeah, we're going to see if the Rams can get the run game going with Akers and Henderson. I don't know if they're going to be able to, and that's the problem, is inconsistency from your running backs in the playoffs is not ideal unless you're the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And maybe you can get by, maybe the Packers can get by.
Especially when you have an inconsistent quarterback situation.
Yeah, exactly. There's just too many question marks with what the Rams are going to be able to do. I trust the defense. Like I don't think Seattle's going to win by 20 or something crazy like that. I just don't think the Rams are going to be able to stop that just superstar factor with Russell Wilson in the fourth quarter. Maybe it's a tight game. I just don't see them being able to overcome that. And I see Seattle winning this game.
Yeah. So one last thing I want to mention, the two games they played against each other this season, they split the season series, but Seattle beat them just a couple weeks back. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Okay, so we're moving on to the third game here.
All right, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Washington football team. Washington football team squeaked in last game of the season because the Eagles decided they were going to tank and they were going to get themselves a better pick. It was obvious. It was clear and obvious. It was one of the worst things I've ever had to watch. Watching the Eagles just choose to lose the game.
Yeah.
And I really feel bad for the Giants. But then again, if you're 6-10 and you're relying on somebody else for your playoff fate, I can't feel too bad for them.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really interesting to see this, like how this game unfolds with that Washington defensive line versus the Bucs.
Well, yeah, because that's the big problem with Brady, especially this season. I mean, we've seen it the last couple seasons. He really struggles with consistent good pass rush, and if there's one thing that Washington is good at, it's having monster pass rushers. I mean, and they have a rotation of them too, especially Chase Young. Chase Young had that thing after the game last week where he said he's coming after Tom Brady. Tampa Bay's an 8-point road favorite, so most people are expecting the Bucs to win this one, but I think there certainly is a path to victory for Washington.
Absolutely.
The question is just how likely is it that they get there. So
I don't find it very likely. The one thing is, I know I sound like a broken record right now, but it's the playoffs. Running the ball matters. If Tampa Bay can't get the run game going, which I don't see any reason they won't be able to, but if they can't and they become one-dimensional and this defensive line is able to just continue to tee off on Brady over and over, that's when the game starts to get close. That's when the game starts to get scary. On offense, it's just abysmal. Terry McLaurin is really good. Antonio Gibson is a good dual threat. J.D. McKissick's the same way. They have him on the field a lot at both times, where McKissick's the slot receiver, Antonio Gibson's the running back, and they kind of just swap him around. That's the one nice factor they have on offense. But other than that, I just don't see any way they're going to really be able to win this game. Even if they play good defensively, I don't know how they're going to score enough points.
Yeah, and I think McLaurin and Antonio Gibson are questionable for this game too. So it's kind of a mess. A lot of things would have to go right. And of course, the Bucks now have Tom Brady. That was the big storyline last offseason. It's been a pretty big... I mean, everybody wants to follow Tom Brady like every week this year and want to pay attention to how he's doing. And I was surprised, actually, with how good his final stats were at the end of the season.
He had 40-plus touchdowns.
Yeah, 40-plus touchdowns. I think he had 4,600 yards, which is about as impressive, quite honestly. But most weeks, it's been a lot less pretty on the field than it ended up in the stat sheet.
That's why I was so surprised when I saw his end of the season stats. I was like, they've been good, they've been solid, but it just seems like week to week they're able to win games big. That when you actually watch the game, it seems like it should be close.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, I feel like we both feel the same way. I don't really know how the football team's gonna be able to come away with this win. I truly feel that they're going to have to put their offense in a position to score 10 easy points and might have to score a touchdown themselves.
Yeah.
For them to come away with a victory.
Yeah. All right. So the fourth game of the weekend, it's the first one on Sunday too. So this one's also at 10:05. I think all the games are at the same time on each day. So one's at 10:05, one's at 1:40, I think, and then one's at 5:15, and that's the same for both days. But the fourth game we have is the Ravens at the Tennessee Titans. And I was actually quite surprised with what the point spread is in this game. So Tennessee is at home, and they're a 3-point underdog against the Ravens. And the Ravens have been playing better lately, especially Lamar. It's been a really up-and-down season. He got to 1,000 rushing yards. I actually didn't realize he was going to get to 1,000 rushing yards again this season.
Twice in a row.
Yeah. And he's been better ever since he got that IV against Cleveland. But I think I'm actually picking the Titans in this one. I'm kind of confused as to why they are underdogs in this game. I mean, their defense has been pretty atrocious this year. The Titans has been, especially their secondary. But the Ravens don't necessarily have the weapons on offense with how inconsistent Lamar's been. They have Marquise Brown, who's been playing good. I think he has a touchdown 6 games in a row or something like that. But I think the Titans are going to be able to run up the score a little bit, and it's going to be up to the Ravens to kind of keep up. I mean, we know how hot Derrick Henry's been. A.J. Brown's been incredible. Tannehill's still serviceable quarterback. Been pretty good these last 2 seasons. So
the Ravens, the one nice thing about them is they were second in points per game allowed defensively.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even realize until I was doing the research that they had been that good this season.
Yeah.
I'm just going so hard on the Derrick Henry hype train for this playoff run.
It's hard not to.
There was a stat I saw, and he has almost 3,400 yards since week 10 of last season. I mean, including playoffs. But can you just let that sink in? I believe Dalvin Cook was second.
And he had 1,900 or something like that. Yeah.
It does not make sense. I don't think the Ravens, even as good as they are going to be able to stop him. They did earlier in the season. They were able to hold Henry to under 60 yards, which is just incredibly impressive because he almost had 20 carries too. So they really, really did stop him. But I think it being the playoffs, I think that the Titans are going to be able to match the Ravens' run game and even exceed it a little bit, even if you add Lamar in, because the running back situation is just so poor right now in Baltimore.
Yeah.
I think Tannehill's going to be able to make enough big plays for them to win this game.
Yeah.
I think it's going to end up finishing within 4 points or so.
Yeah.
I think Tannehill's going to be able to make the plays, and that Titans defense, I think they're going to be able to be just good enough.
Yeah, they're going to have to be better than they were these last couple weeks. They kind of got smoked by Green Bay, and then this previous week they gave up a ton to Houston too. I think they gave up 38 points or something like that. So Tennessee is going to have to play a little bit better on defense, but even if they are lacking a little bit on defense, they can definitely keep up with their offense, and they can definitely get out to a lead and run the ball down your throat. I mean, more than almost anybody, they can run the ball down your throat. So, okay. So the fifth game we got, not one I'm particularly excited to talk about. So we got Chicago at New Orleans. I believe this is the biggest point spread. New Orleans is a 10-point favorite in this one, and this one didn't involve a lot of thinking for me.
Yeah.
The Saints would probably be my pick to go to the Super Bowl right now if you made me choose out of the NFC. I kind of thought they would end up getting the bye like most of the season, that they would get the 1 seed out of the NFC. But honestly, playing Chicago in the first round isn't that much worse than just having a bye. I think Chicago's kind of a fluky team. They got a lot of weird wins at the beginning of the season, and then they went on like a 6-game losing streak at one point in the season. And then they kind of rebounded a little bit. They're in the playoffs, but I don't even think they're one of the 14 best teams in the NFL, quite honestly.
I would completely agree. I was on the phone with a friend, and I was saying the exact same thing. I was like, yeah, the Saints didn't get a bye, but they might as well have.
Yeah.
We might sound really, really stupid next week, but
yeah.
Man, that Bears team, like, defense is really, really good. All right, I'm not trying to put any disrespect on that defense. It's very good, one of the best in the NFL. But that offense is just abysmal. You would think with the coaching they have, Matt Nagy, that they'd be able to come up with some creative stuff to like get it going, and at least with how good that defense is, the offense could at least just try to keep up.
Yeah,
but they can't. But I mean, I get they're in the playoffs right now, and they got the wins necessary. This game is going to be ugly. This game is going to be ugly. I mean, Alvin Kamara is going to have a big game because I think that once you hit the middle of the third quarter, the Saints are going to have a sizable enough to lead to where they're running on first, running on second, and possibly running on third, depending on the distance.
Yeah, and he'll get involved in the pass game too. Kamara will. It's pretty likely this game ends in a blowout. Yeah. Even more so than Tampa Bay, Washington.
Oh, I would say so.
I think the Saints end up winning this one. So I don't have a whole lot much more to say on that one. So the sixth and final game.
We have the Browns and the Steelers. All right, it's a good matchup here. The Browns, as good as they were this season, still had to wait till the last week to get in. They beat the Steelers, but the Steelers are playing a backup quarterback. So it's not extremely impressive. I wouldn't say that's indicative of what we're going to see.
Yeah, both these teams kind of had weird seasons. I mean, Pittsburgh started 11-0, and then they kind of collapsed. Everybody's making fun of Juju and Chase Claypool for the TikToks and whatever, and they've both just kind of had odd seasons. And this was one of the tougher games to pick for me, quite honestly. It's hard to really gauge which one of these teams is better right now. Pittsburgh's the number 3 seed. They could have had the number 1 if they had just stayed afloat for a little bit, but they're at home, and I think with this one I'm going to take Pittsburgh. I don't really have a great reason why. I think this could very well be just another great interdivisional matchup just now in the playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Browns win, quite honestly.
I've been saying it this whole segment, and I'm going to say it again. Give me those running backs. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Can we talk about how ridiculous of a duo that is?
Yeah.
It's just insane. I don't know. I mean, the Steelers are an incredible defense. Don't get me wrong, but that Browns offense, I think they're going to be able to control the game.
Yeah.
The big thing is Baker. Is Baker going to be able to make the plays necessary? And I have this gut feeling that Baker is just going to silence everybody.
Really?
I think the running backs are going to do their thing, and I think Baker is going to make all the plays needed in the fourth quarter to get the Browns a win and their first playoff victory in a long time.
Yeah, and he played pretty good last week. Again, it's been, quite honestly, an up-and-down career for Baker, not just an up-and-down season. But he's had some great games. It's going to be tough against Pittsburgh's defense. They're going to be able to generate a lot of pressure, like always. I'm sure Baker wishes he had Odell right now. And we don't know how that's going to play out in the offseason either. It sounds like Odell might end up getting traded.
We kind of know how that's going to play out.
Yeah, but all right. And I think that's all we have to say about the NFL playoff predictions, unless you got anything to add.
I do not have anything to add. I do not.
Yeah, and then it'll be the Chiefs and Packers. They're the 2-1 seeds, so they'll each play the lowest team that advances in each of their conference. So, yeah.